Good morning.
It looks like we have a quorum. Right, Amanda, we're good?
Yes.
Okay, if we could please call the meeting to order, could I have a motion to approve the prior minutes? That motion is made by Supervisor Simpson, seconded by Supervisor Frazier. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you, that carries. Our first item on the agenda is to hear from our SUNY Adirondack representative. Do we have anyone from SUNY Adirondack? Not here yet. And I will say we did have a small meeting yesterday with SUNY Adirondack about their plan moving forward, just talking a little bit more about a strategic plan of how they want to reach out to the community, and so that was very informative. Both Kevin Garrity, Ron Conover, and Matt Sokol attended that with me, so that was helpful. Is there a privilege of the floor? I don't see anyone here from the public. Really wants to be heard? Okay, thank you. So moving on to item number 2, items to be discussed by the HR and Personnel Office. 2A is a review of report on tracking of vacancies filled that can be found in your agenda. Personnel 2B, to request a table of organization and salary schedule to create the new position of test administrator at an $18 per hour per diem effective November 20th. Could I have a motion to get that on the floor, please? Made by Supervisor McDevitt, seconded by Supervisor Simpson. Is there any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That motion carries. 2C is a request to amend the table of organization to create the new position of test administrator number 3 at $18 per hour effective November 20th. A motion to get that on the floor. Made by Supervisor Bramer, seconded by Supervisor Frazier. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Referral from the County Facilities Committee for the airport is our item number 3, request to amend the table of organization and salary schedule to create the position of airport manager, a temporary part-time up to 20 hours a week at the rate of $39.92 per hour, to retain Ross Dewberry, an airport manager, on a part-time basis until the airport manager position has been sufficiently covered. Can I get a motion to have that on the floor? Made by Supervisor Simpson, second by Supervisor Leggett. Is there discussion? Supervisor McDevitt, then Bramer.
Oh, thank you. I would like to support this, but I'm not sure if I'm going to. Maybe saying up front that I am a supporter of the runway. I am a supporter of someone else taking over the operation of the airport. But I would like, that being said, I would like a more clear-cut definition of what Ross will do for those 20 hours. Something in writing that will specifically identify what his duties are.
Thank you, Supervisor McDevitt. Supervisor Bramer.
Thank you, Chairwoman. I did have a lot of concerns about this issue when it came up on Monday. I was taken off guard, taken aback. I applaud Supervisor Gerard for dealing with me and being very patient. I am very concerned about this because it does seem really open-ended. We asked for a list of duties, and I felt like we were assured that that list would be forthcoming right away, at least by today. And I still haven't seen a list. There was something flying around about the grants, but that is not a list of what Mr. Dewberry would be doing in his part-time capacity. There's Jeff now, so maybe he can fill us in a little bit more. But I have had some time to deliberate a little bit more on this and think it through. I think it's not an unreasonable request to have him on specific things. And I had an opportunity to confer with Jackie Figueroa about whether this is as unusual as I had thought, and it isn't. I would like to see a very clear-cut list, though, before I vote in approve of this. And I don't think that we said we were going to do it until the airport manager had been sufficiently covered. I feel like that is something that has been added. This did not come from facilities.
I think that was from the motion.
Amanda believes that was included in the
I
motion.
did make the motion, and I have it written down somewhere.
Supervisor Beatty, did you have a comment, or then Supervisor McDevitt?
Yeah, I did. I was very clear at that meeting. Supply me with a detailed list of current projects that you're working on and the time frames that it needs to be completed. I have not received anything other than he's working on a grant. Well, that's not enough for me. I mean, for crying out loud. And I was also supposed to have been CC'd on all information about the airport for the last 6 months, 9 months. I get one email a week, maybe two at the most, about the footings for a new hangar. So if there's so many pending important projects right now at the airport, and I haven't got any information in emails on this during this whole process, how can I go from that, not getting any information, when I was supposed to be getting information, to now saying he's such a critical part of this airport that if we don't have him, the sky's going to fall down, just like when Dusick left. The world was going to stop when we lost our county administrator, which we all found was a bunch of BS. The world didn't stop. The world kept going. In fact, we ran probably smoother than ever. So unless somebody shows me the critical pieces of information that he is working on, that he and only he can administer and give his expertise for, I am strongly against this. Maybe Mr. Tennyson can give us that detailed list I've asked for now twice. Maybe he's got the list. Let's share it, Jeff. If you got it, share it, please.
Supervisor McDevitt,
Yes,
then Supervisor Leggett, then Supervisor Garrity.
I think this is a reasonable request. It is not an unreasonable request. Just kind of write it on a tablet, write it on something. Just tell me what he's going to do. I don't need a extensive detail. Don't need to do the Magna Carta all over again. Just kind of write it down. Tell me what he's going to do.
Supervisor Leggett, if you would be agreeable, perhaps at this time, before we go to your comments, we could ask Jeff Tennyson if he has that list prepared.
Sure.
You want to speak before that?
Yeah, I would like to.
If agreeable with you, Supervisor Leggett, could Supervisor Garrity please make a comment?
Yeah,
before?
I apologize for not making the meeting. No, I don't, because I didn't want to make the meeting. No, I had other things. I think we need to keep some continuity going over there. I agree that, this can't be open-ended, and it seems like it's an open-ended, but I do think in the interim, we need to have somebody come in and pick up what loose ends. Yes, I agree with both Claudia and Doug and everybody. We should know what he's going to work on. He will have to punch in, and I would request that he punches in and punches out when he does the work. It shouldn't be come in and then he should keep a log of what he's working on. I mean, I think that's a simple thing, and we can review it every 2 weeks to say where we're getting our money's worth. I just don't think you can just cold turkey and go without quasi airport manager, and this will allow Jeff time to try to find somebody on staff who could perhaps go in and pick up some of the pieces without having the expertise. So I agree, it shouldn't be open-ended. It appears to be a little bit open-ended, but I think if you're concerned about time and efficiencies, we can ask for time and efficiencies. We can get him to punch in and punch out when he's doing the work, and then we can ask to see his log of what he's doing. I mean, anybody could say, I'm going to go work. Look, I held a couple positions. I know it's difficult if you're working a full-time job to go in there at night, and I don't know how much we really will glean by doing this, so that's why I think we need to keep track of it. That's just my 2 cents. I think it's needed. I think Jeff understands the concerns and everything, and I think we should try to allow them to manage their way through this and review it in 2 weeks, if we have to review it in 2 weeks to see how it's going. But I don't think, I think keeping track of time, we have a system where somebody thumbs in and he can thumb out at night. So, and then we can get a log of what he's doing and what he's working on. And if it appears, we can certainly question Jeff at any time. Do we need a person to come in there? If it means coming in and walking around the place and checking the furniture, maybe we don't need somebody there every day to do that. But I think he's trying to make a case that we do need somebody in there in the interim. So I think we ought to give him a chance.
Jeff, could we please hear from you regarding the specific duties?
So I met with Ross. It's been intensive over the last few weeks. We knew, or at least the last week and a half, when I knew Ross was leaving. But his focus has been training maintenance personnel. I've already gone through major reductions in the airport crew. I've gone from 6 personnel to 1. And Ross is the primary trainer for those guys. I met with Ross yesterday. I grabbed him. I said, let's go to lunch. And we sat down. We were at O'Toole's, and we had all the paperwork out. We were eating, and we're looking at stuff, all the projects, all the maintenance items, everything else. I went with him back to the airport, and immediately, there was an immediate need, where I turned to Ross and I said, how the hell am I supposed to do this? And Ross said, well, here's what you got to do. I said, I don't know how to do this. We had a balloon doing a event on the front lawn. We had a UAV guy who needed direct access to airport personnel to be able to fly a UAV while airplanes were flying. And I turned to Ross and I said, Ross, how am I going to do this? He's like, well, here's what you got to do. And I said, I have no clue. I can go to a stack of binders like this and do research. Or I can call up somebody that knows what needs to happen. That's the guy. Like, it is unbelievable to me that you guys think that I can take this on. I can't. There's nobody in this county, there's nobody working in this county that can do this. I need Ross. He's willing to do up to 20 hours a week so that I can call him, I can text him. And as far as punching in, he's going to be remote. I need his access. I can't have him come to the county, punch in, and then talk to him. I got to be able to talk to him remotely. We've done this before with other department heads where we can track their time. I'll certify a timesheet, but as far as punching in and punching out, it's not going to work. It just will not work. I'm going to be meeting with Ross. I'm going to be meeting tonight. I'm meeting with Ross as soon as he gets back. It'll probably be 4 or 5 o'clock. You want him to drive 20 minutes to the airport, punch in, so that he can meet with me? Or can I meet with him at his house? Or can he meet with me at my house? Or can we meet somewhere in between? It's ridiculous to want him to punch in and out. It's just ridiculous.
Can I ask a question, though? I mean, you said the training. How come we don't have people trained if we know we're so short? And I've asked you this question
Kevin,
before.
We've been working on this.
Okay.
We went from 6 personnel at the county airport. As of a couple of years ago, we had 3.
Okay.
Okay? And I've been constantly trying to send highway personnel down there to make up the difference. They have to be trained, they have to be coached, they have to go through like multiple iterations before they're competent at it. This year, I went from 3 to 1, and the 1 is leaving in December. I went from 3 to 1.
I get that, Jeff. Jeff, I'm not here to debate you. I'm here to ask you a specific question.
Okay, I'm trying
Why haven't we, before now, tried to get some people in there trained to carry the airport after December to go forward? That's my question.
That's what's going on right now.
Okay.
But I can tell you, this year has been tough. I had my primary guy down there on the maintenance crew. He's been there 25 years. And he finally had enough, and he said, you know what, I want security for my family, and he left.
Mm-hmm.
So immediately, the one guy left on the highway, or on the maintenance crew, started picking up duties. We started training him. Ross started training him. We started bringing in more people, but it's ongoing. And I'm like overwhelmed right now with just getting these guys up to speed. I need somebody to be able to call.
Supervisor Leggett, then Bramer.
I'll come back to it.
Okay, Bramer, Supervisor Bramer.
Yeah, I hear what Jeff is saying. I still was hoping for some sort of, outline of things, but it sounds like you need them every single day, and I don't know how we're gonna.
I can tell you. Listen, in the near term, I need Ross. If you guys want to eliminate the ability for me to have Ross a month from now, 2 months from now, 3 months from now, you can do it. But I can tell you right now, there is nobody to fill that gap. I need to be able to call Ross. And I shouldn't have to call the guy and talk to him and get advice, and he'll give it to me out of the kindness of his heart, but he shouldn't have to do that. He should be on the payroll. He is the airport manager, and I have nobody to fill that gap. I'm telling you.
I have Supervisor Bramer, then Simpson, but real quickly before I get to that, Jackie, I would just like to know, in terms of the precedent that's been set, and I think we might be going down a slippery slope in terms of paying people for taking phone calls or answering text. That's again why 2-week notice is so critical to this type of transition plan, but is that something we've done in the past? We've paid employees after they've left to take phone calls or texts other than being here to provide that support?
I know that I have details about how people worked after they resigned. I think it's probably been a combination of some on-site, some calling. I know there have been a few instances in DPW. I know in the county attorney's office there have been several instances. I know when the personnel officer, prior to Trish resigned or retired, she was available. So I don't know if it's been all in person, in office, under the town clock, or I'm not sure how they've actually done the work, because I'm sure some of it happens during business hours while they're...
Okay. That's fine. It's always nice to have good partners in terms of having that open communication, but I wondered if that precedent had been set. Supervisor Bramer, Simpson, then Leggett, then Garrity.
Yes, I also wanted to know if it's appropriate for him to start working now when we have to create this new position. I mean, does that happen?
That answer should come from Mary as our county attorney.
Thank you.
What's the question?
Can I chime in for some clarity, just so everybody's on the same page before Mary? Because I think this will help you, Mary. So, Ross is on the payroll until around November 20th.
Because of vacation time, Jeff?
Right. So, there have been multiple instances of department heads and key leaders leaving and doing partial days, partial timesheets. We've done it. We did it before with Director of Parks and Rec. We've done it for other positions.
Jeff, are you proposing that he be paid by overtime or comp time? Well, if he's still on the books
Neither.
until November 20th.
Neither.
Neither. He's getting paid full time.
He's going to get paid. He's going to get paid by the hours he works.
Not taking
But
vacation.
he has vacation and leave time to expend, and the hours that he works for me doing county business
He'll
should
deduct
be
from his vacation.
normal paid time, and I think he's going to expend all of his vacation time probably around November 20th. At that point, he would go to a part-time role with this committee and the board's approval. He would go to a part-time role and be available up to 20 hours. Doesn't mean that I'm going to use him 20 hours every week. But I can tell you, I need him. That's all I can tell you guys.
And you want that decision
There is
made today?
nobody that can answer the questions that I have for Ross. There is nobody in this room. There's
Right.
nobody working in the county that can do that.
So Supervisor Simpson, Supervisor Garrity, Supervisor Strauss.
Wait, where am I?
Supervisor, I'm sorry, Supervisor Leggett. I know you're after Simpson. Simpson, Leggett, Garrity, Strauss.
Story of my life.
So I don't think there's as much of a precedent. I've been here for 4 years and I've seen a lot of transitions happen between department heads. We just did it with our county attorney. I think that we could, instead of having this go on until it's sufficiently covered, we do this at a 30-day time period and we review. I think it's very reasonable what's happening here, and I think it's more about because it's the airport and it's been the highlight of our last 4 years, and rather than what is practicality. I don't know why this department head is being looked at any differently than any other important department head. So I think we should consider this, maybe put a time frame of 30 days, not to exceed, have a report from Jeff on what his activities are and the amount of time expended, and then we review it and make a decision at the end of 30 days or even in between. I think that we need a smooth transition here.
Supervisor Leggett?
This is totally blown out of the water. That I think it's I'm coming out of a long budget meeting from last night. And so I'm pretty wound up about this. Because as a supervisor, as a sitting supervisor in charge of budgets and trying to figure out how to cut, how to fill the needs of things, to be able to expect that a senior manager, person in charge of the airport and all that entails leaves and thinks that all of that duty can be picked up by somebody that already has a super full plate. And so
Breathe.
yeah.
Deep breath.
Yeah. And a job needs to be done. The airport and everything that is involved with running the airport needs to continue. Who is going to do this? Well, the person that's leaving the job can help. It's not going to pick up everything. It is not unreasonable to think that that this request is something unusual. It's a practical solution to take care of a problem that's in front of us. So 30 days, the way that the county works, I think is a little bit too short. 60 days, in order to fill a position is probably more,
Yeah, we haven't done any.
So, right. So, give it to the first of the year. I'll do that. And that's why in my motion it was until it's sufficiently covered. We have to provide services. We are responsible for providing services. I think a lot of politics is getting involved in this, but when we get right down to the practical aspect, who's going to do the job? And this is one solution for getting it done. I support the DPW superintendent's recommendation on this, and I think we should move forward with it.
Thank you, Supervisor Leggett. Supervisor Garrity?
I have no comment.
Supervisor Straub?
Yes, we run into this all the time at a town level when
Right.
we request that personnel leaving our department has a certain expertise that we need to make a smooth transition. And in this case, Ross theoretically could have just left. And the way he's been treated, the unprofessional way he's been treated, I wouldn't blame him by some people. But he is human enough and responsible enough to make an offer that he can come back and help us out and help us with the transition. I respect that because he doesn't have to do that. And we need him. So can we put some reasonable things together and secure this going forward? Yes. And I would support that route.
Supervisor Supervisor
Mc-
Bramer.
Well, McBramer.
Supervisor Leggett. Thank you. Sorry about that.
I want to go back one more time. And
Two words in one.
Echoes what Supervisor Straub just said about some reasonable things in place. I've had concerns about the transparency here. It is a political issue. I'm trying to devoid myself of that. I see that we have the need, but I'm also asking that we do understand more fully. It doesn't need to be like a gigantic report at committee. If we just have this information emailed to us. I emailed Mr. Tennyson earlier this week with an update about the Fonzie because he made a comment saying it was coming soon. I still haven't gotten a response from him. A simple like, hey, we've gotten all this correspondence from FAA, blah, 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 whatever. That's my concern here, but aside from that, I understand the need, and I don't think it's unreasonable to have this go forward. But I'm going to continue asking for transparency and to know what Russ is up to.
Supervisor McDevitt?
Thank you, Supervisor McBramer. Appreciate it. The clear-cut and precise thinking from members of the North Country delegations have moved me over into their direction. Okay, so I think it. Again, I'll say it again. I think it's a reasonable request. I just think the communication process has to be improved.
Supervisor oh my gosh, it's been a long morning already. Jeff, is there something that you wanted to add?
Mr. Tennyson.
So I know I saw Supervisor Bramer's email. regarding the Fonzie. I think the project's going to get a Fonzie. If I thought anything different, I would have told the board months or years ago, this project's not going forward. I'm telling you.
Jeff, I'm sorry, I don't mean to interrupt you during this,
So-
but I don't think this is the
Not the venue,
priority
okay.
of the meeting
So-
at the moment.
Okay, so I saw your email. I didn't get a chance to respond, but kind of to the subject, I wanted to check with Ross. Ross is the guy. And I've been catching little by little. Ross only comes to me when there's a big problem or he thinks that it's going to need board action. There's so many things that Ross does on a given day that I don't even hear about. You guys don't hear about because he handles it. Now, I was down there yesterday afternoon and immediately there was 3 items that came up immediately that I said to myself, well, this is a guy that needs to answer these questions for us. So I hope
Jeff.
you guys support it. Was there a question, was there another question regarding specifics? I'd be happy to come back to committee and tell you what Ross is working on, as I offered the other day. I'd be happy to do that, because I think it's going to be plentiful. You'll see the results of it.
Jeff, I think that will be necessary for you to be at facilities and
I
get
can
those
do that
updates.
on a regular basis through facilities.
Okay, so that being said, is there any further discussion from the committee? I think at this point, we do need to clarify item number 3 on the resolution number, however. The retroactive date is November 2nd. We've just learned today that he is on the books until November 22nd?
20th.
So that date does need to be amended retroactive to November 20th, and I will ask you, here today I've heard 30 days, 60 days, or till January 1. Is it the committee's pleasure to add an end date to this? No? Okay, I believe
I do have to stop you.
Supervisor Garrity?
I'm going to ask the treasurer's office. You know, I know before we agree to something, are we going to have a hang-up paying him, or are we going to have not going to issue a check here because we're doing something that we shouldn't be doing, Mike? Or are you going to sit and can we get you on tape that everything's going to be good, the checks will be issued?
I was concerned if we were going to have him working prior to the board approving this, okay? Because we should not, I mean, that's in violation.
Well, you'll have the board approval because
No,
that's the
but I'm saying
17th.
having him work before the board approval. In other words, it's like a vendor doing some work prior to the contract being signed, okay? That's not a good situation for us to be in.
No,
I was concerned about that. However, if he's willing to work when he's getting paid for vacation, I don't care. That's fine. After the vacation is up, and if the board approves that that this is going to be X number of dollars an hour, of not to exceed so many hours, there's no problem.
So you're good, and after, everything happens after his end date, he'll get the hourly
Right.
rate.
Because the
Okay.
board meeting is the 17th, I believe.
'Cause I just don't want to have a blow up next week where we're not going to issue him a check or anything like that, so.
No, well, he's not going to be getting a check because he's going to be getting his vacation check.
That's what I mean, he'll be getting his paycheck.
He'll be getting a check through the 20th.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So he'll be getting his regular paycheck to the 20th.
So, back to clarification then on item number 3. On the resolution, Supervisor Simpson, you made that motion. Are you agreeable to changing that date to November 20th, please?
Yes.
Supervisor Leggett, you seconded that motion. Is that agreeable?
Oh, the effective date of the new position?
Yeah.
If that's what needs to be done without, and there still be continuity of service, yes.
It's like he's on the payroll till November 20th, so it can't be
That is the
before
case.
that.
There'll be continuity, and then as of the 20th, if we proceed that way, as of the 20th, it would become a part-time position at the 20th, on the
Yes,
20th.
Chairman.
So we have, we do not have an end date but we do have the up to 20 hours a week, to not more than 20 hours a week, and Jeff has agreed to report back at the Facilities Committee. So with that understanding, is there any further discussion?
No end date? We're just going to,
You know, I'm not opposed if, I mean, we can work on consensus here. If
in about 90 days, and we come back and look at it again.
It's fine with me.
Yeah?
Fine with you, Supervisor Leggett?
Yes.
So that motion is now amended to be not to exceed 90 days, not more than 20 hours, effective date of a part-time position on November 20th. Jeff, did you have a clarification to that? Is that what you were looking for?
Well, I would recommend that you allow the Facilities Committee to review this on a periodic basis, because, as you all know, the county is considering major changes that are going to affect the airport for decades and decades ahead. Either the airport is going to go into private hands completely, or it will go into county hands completely, or it will be a combination of the two. And that process is occurring. The RFP for the
Jeff,
FBO operations is occurring.
We understand that, and we'll look forward to your update at
Can I just
facilities.
finish? Can I finish
Thank you,
Can I
Jeff.
finish or no?
No, I think at this point we're going to move
Okay.
forward. We have a motion and a second. We've had discussion. I appreciate the updates for facilities, but this isn't the appropriate time to talk about the RFP.
Well, I'm talking about the end date of this position and how that impacts.
But a motion is on the floor unless that would like to be amended. So at this point, we have a motion and a second on the floor. It's up to 90 days, not more than 20 hours, to begin on November 20th. Are we prepared to vote on this motion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? I am opposed, for the record. Motion carries. And we'll move on to finance, and you'll see that in your finance agenda. Thank you. Going back to item number 4, referral from Criminal Justice and Public Safety, that table of organization and salary schedule to reclassify the position of Crime Victim Specialist, grade 14, a current salary of $47,792, to a Senior Crime Victim Specialist, grade 17, at an annual basis of $52,640, which would incur an additional cost of $4,848, which would be covered by grant funding. Could I have a motion to get that on the floor, please? That motion is made by Supervisor Bramer, seconded by Supervisor Simpson. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. You have pending items before you to take a look at. The committee requested representatives of Jaeger and Flynn to do a possible analysis. I'm sure we'll hear from that at our next meeting. Amanda, is that? We'll get an update, Jackie, from them on that at our next meeting.
That's discussion for next year's open enrollment for
Okay.
retirees.
Okay.
So
We'll follow back on that then for next month. You have your vacancies approved by your oversight committee. At this time, is there any other comments from the committee or from the public committee? Supervisor Bramer?
Thanks. Am I missing something on this item 6? Second item 6?
Countryside. Vacancies approved by the oversight committee.
Countryside Adult Homes, leisure time activities.
That was brought up at committee meeting.
Did we already pass that?
Those are just reported. We don't vote on them as a personnel committee, but it is an FYI.
This is for FYI
Okay,
only.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
These have already been vetted.
Is there anyone from the public that would like to be heard, or any other supervisors? Supervisor Thomas?
Going back to number 4, I know in the past we've stated that when the grant ends, the job ends, and I think that it's important to have that in there.
Would you like us to amend that motion to reflect that?
Well, you don't necessarily have to do that, but maybe going forward.
Okay,
Need to be reminded that that's the case.
correct. Point well taken. Any other comments or concerns today? Hearing none, could I have a motion to adjourn? Made by Supervisor Simpson, seconded by, I'm not quite sure, Supervisor Bramer?
Fine, I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passed. We are done.